We can do an encore performance.
I think we got to start over, Peter. Take two.
All right, anyway, just if any of you get to the wheel, let me just point something out to you. Can you get lower? So you can see? Or tip the camera? Okay. The front of the table here, the way these wheels are designed, it's designed so you can put a bucket of water there. And in studio situations, it keeps everything compact. But you're constantly doing this, which it really is a back-breaking thing. I'm left-handed. I keep the water here, and I just go like this, back and forth. You notice I don't use a splash pan. And if you are going to learn anything today, you don't want to use water to throw. You want to create slip or slurry. And the reason is clay comes moist already. Adding water to it, it's the thinnest lubrication you have. It soaks into the clay the fastest. The clay gets softest, expands the most, contracts or shrinks the most. And that's when you get into the most problems with cracking and so forth. I like to throw off of a hump. I've got this lovely little cutting string here. And then all my tools are next to me. Okay. So another thing that I'm real keen on is when you work with clay, you have to learn about turning. So you can see the spirals coming up there. Using the palms of your hand, this part in here, it's like a rib. Most people use their fingers and it starts to look a bit like this. Cover as much clay as you can with the palm of your hands and you'll get much better control. And then you can just push it over with one hand and it really centers itself. This clay is a little stiff, so I'm going to work it back down a bit. Anyway, now that I've got the slip on this, I'll give you a little demonstration. You put the slip there, you turn the wheel on as fast as you can, you stop it, the slip's still on the clay. You take water, put it down, and it spins everywhere. It creates a mess. And, you know, I like working with clay. I don't like cleaning up. So I tend to work in a way that minimizes that part of the deal, because let's face it, you'd rather spend your time making things than cleaning up after yourself. And I've seen people with lakes in these, what do they call, splash pans? It takes you a half hour to clean them up. All right, so the best thing I can tell you when you're working in clay is try to compact. So you see how I push down like this? I don't push my fingers in and stretch it out. I compact it. Now, it was already stretched out, see? And if I put my glasses on, I'd really be something. I think the clay's still there. Got a little bubble in it, that's all right. But you see the palms of your hands like this? You can control clay very well with the flats of your fingers and the palms of your hands. See, that's where it is. And, you know, despite what some people think, I make these ribs, and ribs are very good for shaping. Moving out the inside. And then This is the good part. This is why I get the big bucks. When you cut it off, you just let the string come up on its own, work its way around and pull through, and then pick it up and you're done.
All right.
Don't get seasick now. All right, Aiden, could you lower my glasses?
What is the clay that you're using?
This is from Japan. It's from Shigaraki. And believe me, I've had artists here that actually can't throw with it. It's very tricky because it's very rich with feldspar and silica aggregate. It's actually dug right from the ground and thrown into bags. So the problem with, and you'll experience this with your clays out there, because there's no real manufacturer that makes clay for potters. They're all industrial grade products that are refined in wind tunnels, so that the particulars are like 325 mesh. So when you have that, it comes out like mayonnaise. It's good for elasticity, and people enjoy it because it doesn't rough your hands up and all that. But the right clay can really change the way you work. So I'll show you a little bit of a cup. I got racks back there I can show you, but you know, again, if you learn this technique, you can sit down once you get prolific at it. I can make as many cups very close in size and shape, and it takes me about 45 seconds a cup, maybe a minute, using this off the hump. But if you go and you weigh each ball of clay out, there isn't much fun in that. And by the time you weigh your 10 balls, I've got 10 cups. And that's the truth of it. And the way you go about it, you make a ball that's 3 fingers by 3 fingers. You push your thumb down level, and you just come up towards you. Then you put your hands in here, and you come up. But the important thing here is that the form is a V. There's no base inside right now. You'll have to trust me on that. Then the next move, you come up again. So that's 2 moves, okay? Now, here's the deal. When you make a cup, it should fit your hand. So right now, I've got a cup that fits 4 fingers this way and 4 fingers this way. It's a flawless technique. Takes a while to get. But then in here, I come across the bottom and come up. Now, you see how I took the slip off my hand? And I just come up? That's a surface treatment, which will catch fly ash in the kiln. Then this, you see that little space in there, that V? That you put there, and that forms the lip of the cup. If you can learn to use your hands as well as your brain, you'll be better off. And again, this comes up here, wraps around, up, off it comes. Now that went pretty good, but you know, I was talking. So if I wasn't talking, and this clay is a little stiff. I'm not making excuses, but everything I do, the clay has to be exactly right. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So if it's too soft, it collapses. If it's too stiff, you run into other problems. And I'll show you one other thing here. one of my signature things is, see now, if you just indulge me for a minute, can you see the top? It's not round, okay? Look at the shape of your hand. Your hand fits this. It's not round. It's not like a bucket. If you try to put your hand, you see this? If you try to put your hand up against a bucket, you've got a gap there. So this shape absolutely has a logic to it. And I don't put handles on cups for two reasons. I didn't want to become a 70-year-old sitting in my studio pulling cups all day. That was the main reason. But more importantly, I learned in Japan that if the cup's too hot to hold, it's too hot to drink, so why bother putting a handle on it? All right, now here. You see these two cups? They're pretty even in size, pretty even in shape. Now I'll tell you, because I pulled it off, I haven't touched clay since February. I've been writing my book, working on that, and it's taken an enormous amount of time, but also you know, with the lockdown, I didn't really have the desire.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see what else I can do. Oh, I know what I can show you. How are we doing on time?
44.
Okay. Just to give you an idea of it's a funny thing. I teach, but when I'm working, I never talk. So just give me a minute to gather my thoughts.
I hear
So-
you. It's difficult.
It is difficult. And when people talk to me when I'm working, I tell them when the head's down, don't bother. Well, you know, unless you do this on a regular basis and you take it seriously, what looks like fun actually takes a lot of concentration. So, you know, you very rarely see guitar players talking to each other when they're performing. Now, back in, I don't know, 78 or something, I said to myself, I'd like to make a square pot on a round wheel. I guess it was a bit of being a smart ass, but I came up with this technique. So we'll see if we can pull it off. I got a little funny story while we're doing this. I make tea bowls, and I was in this historic village in France called Libourne, and I was doing a workshop for a group, and they couldn't have been nicer. I mean, everyone was very engaging, and you know, had a very nice group. But then I got to the point where I wanted to give them a little bit of instructive information, which is basically when you see a technique, the idea is not to copy it, it's to take inspiration and do your own thing. So I said, I'm going to show you this technique with T-ball. My face. But I said, I don't want to come back to Libourne and see you people doing this. And someone in the back just shouted, don't come back. And now this clay is very stiff. Keep in mind, I live for cracks. So if you get a good crack, it's a good thing. If you get a bad crack, of course, it's not. Oh, shit. Told you the clay was stiff. Give me that tool there. Yeah. We'll see if we can get by with this. I should have probably used this to begin with.
Cool.
It's a little bud vase.
Yeah.
And you know, later you can very easily grab the clay and pull it so that it has a little more animation. You know, I think they're pots with an attitude, basically. All right.
It's
So,
nice.
thank you, sir.
You can see the feldspar coming out of that.
You see, that's it. And if you stay with me, when you use this side here, you can get this round shape here.
Uh-huh.
Then you turn it this way and you poke the edge and you get that fold. So you have to learn how to use tools to your advantage. What are a quarter of? 10? Would you like to see the rest of the studio real quick?
We'd love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know,
I'm going to show you
it's
the
you can take as much time as you want, Peter.
Okay, well then, as long as we've got a few minutes, I won't rush it.
Yeah. And I have a question, a couple of questions, but one, you mentioned your book.
Yeah.
Now, you are coming up on 50 years, aren't you? Working in
In
clay?
2021, it'll be exactly 50 years. And I've got 2 essays by writers together, and they're absolutely brilliant. One was by Glenn Brown in Kansas, from Kansas University. Absolutely one of the most talented writers in the country. I mean, he's just, I never met the man, but he sure knows how to express himself. And the other is Glenn Adamson, who curated the Volkus retrospective in New York. And he wrote an essay about our collaboration. And of course, I'm doing the one on the autobiography. But it'll start in August 2021 in California. And it's coming up to Tacoma, to the Art Museum.
All right. From Pomona to Tacoma.
There's a song there somewhere in there.
I think so.
I think it may go to Kansas City first, but they have committed, one way or the other, they've committed. The other big news is probably the world's largest ceramic collector has, over the past decade, made some serious donations to the Met. And one of them was American Art Pottery, which has been on exhibit in the entire American wing. That's how comprehensive it was for a decade. And that collection was appraised at between 30 and 70 million. So this guy's serious, and now he's donated a cachet of 125 pieces to the Met of contemporary work. So next February, the Met's acquiring about half a dozen of my pieces, which is, you know.
That's awesome.
I
That
tell
is
you,
so awesome.
And I went into New York with Julie for the opening of Bob's exhibition, and I looked at the logo on the door, and we're in the underground parking. And I just had this moment, and I said, you know, the only way I'm going to get a piece in this museum is to leave it in the bathroom. And then this happened, so, you know,
Hey,
I couldn't be happier.
congratulations.
Yeah, it's an honor, and you know, just happened to be in the right place at the right time, because I'm sure there's many artists that are equally deserving, and I'm just glad to see that the Met's starting to collect contemporary art.
No kidding.
Okay, anyway, let's start over here. Just stand right here. The collector that I told you about, Bob, his name is Robert Ellison, and you can Google him. But when I went to his studio to deliver some work, he had this photo lab set up. The guy's a billionaire, but when I showed interest in it, he took time to come out, help me fabricate this. And over the course of, I don't know, 5 years of trial and error, I finally got to the point where I'm very confident. I've got the right equipment, the tripods and so forth. And if you see these are little reflector cards.
Uh-huh.
And if I want to soften the light, or even more soften it, or less on a hot spot, I've got these. This can change, and it's on casters, so the way you light it is you know, it's very flexible, but it's also on pulleys, so that if you do larger forms, up to a certain point, and if item turns around, this light box here I built, you see it up there? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
And this here with the backdrop over there, that gray, I can go to that sculpture. Photography end of things. And the beautiful thing is I could take a morning, if I have to shoot, I could probably shoot 12 pieces in about 2 hours, which, you know, believe me, hiring a photographer was just a dead end because they're very costly. And, you know, back in the day with film, they don't develop right. So digital has made it possible to be a little more independent. Okay, we're gonna go this way. This is a fiberglass bathtub, and I've used this since 1976 to recycle clay. And you can see, because I haven't been working, it's very low. No, go the other way, down. But it's wide, and most people use big garbage cans to store their scrap clay. It means you got to get your arm in there and dig. This thing's real easy, and when you want to drain water off of it, you just tip it. It's very functional.
Good
Great
idea.
idea.
So that's how I got the idea. And over here is a floor scale. You can see that, and a clay mixer. This has been my saving grace here. Lucas sent this to me back in, I guess, '83. And we've since taken it down nuts and bolts and rebuilt the whole thing. But it's an old dough mixer. So you crank it down, and you've got these delta blades in there. So you pick the bags of clay up, the dry, you put them in there, you crank it up, you turn it on. It's noisy, but it's a beast, and it can take up about 250 pounds in about 45 minutes or an hour. And I've got an exhaust fan right behind it that's blocked up, but the system's real good because this is up against the wall where there's a window with a fan and it sucks it out. Over here, this is probably the thing I'm next to my wood kiln most proud of. This is a small little gas kiln. And can you take that? Denise? So here's a burner. Show them down here. There's a burner with a squirrel cage fan, and then this lid. And you pick the lid up, and you've got room for about 12 little T-bowls. So I do these black, they call it black seto, black bowls. In here, glazed, fire it to cone 6 in 4 hours, and be done.
Nice.
It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
So you froze up there just for a second, but that you call them black seto?
Yeah, black seto. Let me see if I can find a bowl. Yeah. So this is a black bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you can see it's kind of oblong. They call these shoe shapes, but you have this meeting of white and black in there. And then, of course, the carbon. And I've developed enough tricks using the gas kiln that you cannot tell whether it's wood fired or gas. It's pretty cool. Let's see, what else? You can turn over here and just point up there, Ivy. This is another little feature. I have ceiling fans because a regular fan on a piece of clay is cross draft, so one side's going to dry quicker than the other. You turn the ceiling fan on, and it pushes the air straight down, so you get much better drying conditions that way. For what it's worth, it's a big help because you can cover thin areas, leave the thick areas uncovered, and you know, knowing your studio, you can walk away from it for any given amount of time and come back when it's ready. And past that fan up there, that's the loft where the assistants work. And then over here to the right. All the packing. So, you know, we've got a pretty good operation here. But it's a 125-year-old barn, and if you look at the floor, this is the big thing. It's a extended wood floor. And when you're standing on
We're losing your voice.
when you're standing on a floor, a concrete floor, and I taught at universities, it's really hard on your joints, especially when you get, you know, up to the age I am. So the suspended wooden floor is very good for your joints.
Yeah.
Something that's just real handy. And then over here,
Whoops. Losing your audio again.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. See, I'm just going to show you this, a couple of pieces. I call these hot pockets, but I don't know if you can see the colors real well, but this side would be facing the door. You have a river of coals that you sort of manipulate so that you can get this line of crust, get this glass, carbon, because rough, smooth, and sharp are occurring in the glaze as well as the form. But when you turn it around to the other side, the nature of the filing, which is crossed off, you get entirely different patinas. Same for something like this piece. The same idea.
Yep. We're losing your audio.
Okay. You
Yeah,
got
you
it?
gotta
That's
face-
good. Yeah.
Okay. But the same thing with this. You can see the carbonization where the coals are resting and the glass, which is above the bed of coals in the kiln. And again, when you turn it around, it's a whole different animal. You can see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Let's take a stroll out here by the kiln. See, this is what I was talking about. You saw when I manipulated that. Oh, did we lose the voice?
No, you're good.
But you see, when you manipulate a piece of clay, it can make a component to a piece of sculpture. These pieces down here were wheel thrown and then altered. And you saw where I cross hatched. Well, they can become a decorative motif as well. Okay. Now, can you unplug that? Unplug that. We got a. You know, okay. Come on. So this is some of the nightmare. You know, chopping wood, splitting wood. So when you get it down, this pan here, you see a little lower. I've got these on pallets, so I can just come over with a pallet jack and hold it over the till, so I don't have to.
We're losing your audio again.
And he's frozen.
Oh, I think you froze up there. Peter, can you hear me?
Mud over the door to seal it up good when I'm fine. And then we've got a nice old big fan, which keeps you cool when you fire. Then this is the kiln.
I hope we get a better image.
Yeah, I think he's walking away from his,
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, so he's not
Yeah.
able to transmit very well.
I can't hear you.
Peter? We've lost your Wi-Fi connection, I think, or it's very
I can't
weak.
understand the question.
It's a very weak signal. So we didn't really get to see your
Yeah,
kiln.
no, we lost Wi-Fi out by the kiln, Ken.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of because I really wanted to be able to see that kiln.
Well, there are things on the website, but does
Yeah,
somebody have a question?
Um,
I heard
I-
somebody talking.
well, that might have been me saying that we lost you.
No,
But I do have a question.
go ahead.
You mentioned Tacoma, and
Right?
I know you had a little history there. And for the life of me, I'm sure that you told me this 20 years ago or more. Um, what brought you to Tacoma?
Well, it's an interesting thing. When I was in high school, I'm just backtracking a bit. I was an athlete, and I was chosen to tour Europe for soccer. And I was attending a private school in Massachusetts. And when I got home in April, the school went bankrupt. So you had to do like 5 book reports to get your high school diploma. But I was 18 years old. It was the summer of '69. So I went out to California and spent time in LA, Venice, Sunset Strip, Laurel Canyon, San Francisco. I got to see Hendrix on the beach, that kind of life. But when I finally got serious about, well, I had to wait for my diploma to come through, but there were only a few schools open. Florida Methodist, Texas Christian, and a small Midwestern school in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. My second year sophomore, first semester, it was a ceramics course. And the guy teaching it was a graduate from Puget Sound, from Tacoma. Well, I took the ceramics course, went home for Christmas, and I got a letter from the school that they went bankrupt.
Oh God.
And then I got a letter from Uncle Sam saying, you're going to Vietnam. So I went back and packed up, and knowing that I needed a college deferment, I looked at the guy and I said, where did you go to school? And he said, Tacoma, UPS. Great program. I looked at the map. It was 250 miles from Canada. So I had plan A and plan B.
There you go.
That's great.
So I drove up to Tacoma, and I walked into the admissions office, and it was almost like, you got to take me. And they said, we don't take matriculating students mid-semester. But just for the record, what department did you want? And I said, ceramics. And they said, oh, hell, there's always room for one more in the basement. So that started everything. And after about 2 years, my counselor said, one more class, you're an art major. And I said, well, it's the only thing I like doing. So I kept doing it. And so I spent 2.5, 3 years in Puget Sound.
That was
And
with Ken Stevens.
Ken Stevens, Carlton Ball, Fred Olson. And I thought, like every young kid, you think that your work is the best. So I applied to all the top schools. And, later in life, you learn the name of the game. I don't care who you are, but if you were a Ken Ferguson student, you're getting into Alfred.
Yeah.
You could do the shittiest work in the world. And that's the bloodline. And they only took 2 or 3 students in these graduate programs. So I got rejected to everyone. And I applied to the Archie Bray. And I won't make this too long, but they had 100 applicants with 2 openings. And I kept calling the director. And at the time, it was the time before cell phones. So I called him to let him know that my lease was up, the phone was getting turned off, and I was heading out of town for 10 days. And he asked where I was going. I said, we're going to walk the Hoh River, walk the Bailey Range, and try to do the Mount Olympus summit and, just do some alpine trekking and fishing. And he said, you fish? And I said, yeah. He says, I don't have anybody to fish with you. You're in.
Was that Shaner?
No, that was Dave Cornell.
Oh, okay.
But then being out there, I met Rudy, and then Rudy told me when I was in California to meet Pete, and then everything snowballed from there. But yeah, I just, coming from Nebraska to the Northwest, it was just like, a G5 force, because there you are with all that, plains, bluffs, and, migratory animals out there. And then you get up to the Northwest with the ocean, the mountains, and, being from New Jersey, it was just unbelievable. And as it turns out, there's a small corner in Northwest New Jersey where I finally settled that's about as close to the Seattle area as you can get. In fact, they get the name the Garden State from my area. They actually put a senior citizen home 15 minutes away from here, digging the foundation that was 75 feet of topsoil.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fertile area.
Wow.
Well, let's come back here for a minute. And
What a great story.
Again, you know, we did this kind of thing, but when I'm touting contrast, it's very easy to make impressions. And, you know, for my money, can you see that?
Yeah.
It's very quick, expedient. So basically making tools that make impressions really can dress up a pot. And whether you're glazing or not, it's a handy thing to keep under your belt or in your toolbox. Okay, this is request hour, kids. You got a few minutes. Anybody want to see anything other than building a big sculpture?
Come on, somebody's got to come. Got it.
Well,
Huh?
Peter, I'm from Jersey, and
what's that?
my family's in Jersey. They live in Metuchen.
I know that.
Yeah, but I lived in Tewksbury Township about
Real close to me.
yeah. So if I came back to Jersey when I visit my
No.
family, can I come by your studio and check it out?
Any friend of Ken's is not welcome here. Of course you can. And you know, the easiest thing for you to do is just Google me. I've got my contact information on my website, phone number and everything. But you know, you're more than welcome. I just suggest if at all possible, come in the spring because it's absolutely. The guy I bought the property from was a color physicist. He pioneered color stabilization in the garment industry. And he literally planted, I've got over 400 specimens and 600 bulbs on the property. It's just never ending parade of beauty. Fragrant shrubs, rare specimens, it's quite nice.
Well, let's hope that the COVID situation is better, so next spring I can come visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got a son down in LA and it is scary, I'll tell you that. Let me see.
Can I ask a question about your Volcus film?
Sure.
How could we be able to see that?
Well, you know, I've sort of been keeping it under my hat for the museum exhibition, but if there's a way we can figure out how I could show it to you on my computer, is there a way to do that? It'll take a while. Okay, I just was informed that it's a little tricky now, but why don't we do this? Is there a day that you all meet out there?
Yeah.
What day is it? What's that?
Wednesday. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll chat with my techies here and see if I can't arrange for the same time next week, and I'll give you a viewing of it.
Oh, that would be
Boy,
wonderful.
that would be a real
Whoa.
treat.
Wow.
Yeah, no, actually, it came together pretty well. And one of the nice things about it, which I'll just chat up now, I was over in Norway with Pete, and he was interviewed by a television station, and he talked for about an hour. So when we put together the film, we actually have the opportunity to put in, his dialogue in the appropriate places. So it's not like one of these Civil War things where they have stills and gunfire, but you actually have the artist talking about his work and his technique and his influences. And geez, I don't know, there had to be about 8 years of VCRs that my son transferred at Sony Studios to digital. And the fact that he's in the entertaining business, when we put it together, the highest praise I got, or one of the highest praises, was Bob's wife who saw it. And she said, "You know what the best thing about that film was?" And I said, "What?" She says, "It didn't look homemade."
Oh.
And she's a real talent herself. But that was quite a compliment, and I think she's got it right, because it was, we were fortunate enough to have enough footage, and nobody knew him better than me, so I was in on every step of the, editing and putting the music in that we used to listen to, and he's quite entertaining, I'll tell you that.
That's great.
Entertainer.
Wonderful.
Okay, so maybe we'll set it up for next Wednesday. I'll email Ken and confirm it. Okay,
Absolutely. Yeah. What a treat. God,
All right.
Peter.
easy
This is-
enough. Let's see. Are we okay?
Hey, listen, this has really been awesome. I really enjoyed
The
this.
best part about it is seeing your face again, buddy.
Yeah, I think I missed you at in Sika in last year,
Where was it?
Minneapolis.
Yeah, no, I don't go to Minneapolis in March.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You
You
know.
get snowed in, the weather's horrible. You know, this is the thing. The NFL has like the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. We get Minneapolis.
Yeah.
It just, I went to the one in Tampa, which was a no-brainer. It was very popular.
Yeah.
The one in Richmond this year had, I think, 4,000 registered.
Yeah.
So they, and
Yes.
believe me, everything just got shut down. I was busy myself, and just yesterday I had the first outsiders in my studio. People came out, they're collectors, and so I think things are starting to pick up, and certainly New Jersey's gotten ahead of this thing as well as anybody. But there's no telling what's going to happen next week. That's the only thing. So listen, everybody, thanks for
Thank you so much.
making me feel welcome.
Hey,
Thank you.
you bet.
And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.